I've done all the experimentation already with it, and we figured out what works best and what doesn't. So, you could think, wow, I figured out 5 grams of testosterone a week. That's the sweet spot. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because if it was, everyone would do it. Okay, no one would have side effects from it, and everyone would get the best muscle growth, but that's not the case. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
This is Kyle. Kyle doesn't like junk food. Kyle doesn't do drugs. Kyle likes to work out. Do some good shit.
RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. So glad you can join us for this next 30 minutes. Probably going to be a little abbreviated. Full disclosure, it is Tuesday afternoon, and we have after hours, the Whack Pack waiting in the wings in a matter of about 25 minutes. So we're going to jump right into the questions. The first 2 questions on this show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. What's the common protocol when taking Deca 400 to 600 tests weekly? My main concern is preventing gyno. Tell me if my assumption is correct. Blood work before getting started. Start with low dose. Deca maybe 100 mg a week. I have Anastrozole. What's next? Thanks in advance.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a complicated question, but it's really not complicated because, if you're on 1,000 milligrams of testosterone a week, in my experience, you usually need about a 0.5 milligram of Arimidex, also known as Anastrozole. It's the same drug. Usually every other day in an off-season scenario. I don't like to lower estrogen too much in the off-season because you don't grow as well. Okay, so pre-contest, I'd probably do it every day, and I might even go to 1 milligram every day with that. That's gonna keep your estrogen usually in normal range. Now, if you go for blood work and your estrogen's through the roof, you need more, obviously, because some people aromatize more than other people. So you can't. It's not a one-size-fits-all, answer. And just like some people turn some of their testosterone into DHT more, I'm one of those people. I'm a much higher DHT converter than I am an estrogen converter. So I don't need as much aromatase inhibitor. I need a lot more DHT blocking. Most people, however, are big estrogen converters, and that's why they get the gynecomastia and all the side effects that go along with that. The only way to really know if you're doing the right job with the aromatase inhibitor you're taking would be to get your estrogen levels checked. Now, when you introduce Deca aromatizes, but not as much as people think. It's more of a prolactin increaser. So what it does is it increases another hormone known as prolactin, which can cause gynecomastia in a different way. We call that prolactin-induced gynecomastia. And usually what happens is the glands do get a little bigger, but they start secreting, like a mucousy, secretion. In women, after, delivering a baby, prolactin would cause their glandular situation to produce milk. Okay, so you're a man, you're not going to be producing milk, but you're going to release a lot of people have like a mucousy discharge that comes out of there. And once again, that's prolactin induced, and that's caused by Deca. Sometimes trenbolone can cause that as well. So it's a different situation. If you're very sensitive to Deca and you go get blood work and your prolactin levels are really high and you're getting that discharge, you're going to need to use cabergoline, which is a different situation. Cabergoline will lower prolactin. You can do 0.5 milligram of that 2 to 3 times a week. And that's addressing a different issue than what happens when testosterone or testosterone or D-bol or anastrozole converts to estrogen.
Second question, again, these questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. I'm following the workouts in the app. Do you ever add anything like supersets or drop sets?
Yeah, what I tell people sometimes is, especially when you're dieting, and I used to do this a lot when I was dieting. Let's say I can bench 405, right, for reps on an incline. That was, at my biggest, what I was doing. So maybe when I got, into a dieting state where I dropped 20, 30 pounds, because, the first 20 pounds is water, I wasn't as strong. So maybe what I would do is maybe I would still do 405, but I couldn't get 6 reps anymore. So maybe I would do 2 or 3 reps, and then I would drop it and do a drop set, and I would drop down to 315 and do 4 more reps. So I still got 7 reps or 8 reps out of the set. It's just I had to drop it. And it's usually helpful if you have a training partner there. Whenever I was lifting that heavy, I always had a training partner. So he would strip the weight for me, and I would do a couple more and squeeze out some more. Sometimes I would do a second drop and drop it down to 225 and try to squeeze. But that was the last set I would do that on, so that I was still lifting heavy. I was still getting the intensity, but I was making sure that I wasn't cheating because I wasn't as strong as I was when I was 315 pounds, for instance. So you can definitely do drop sets. Sometimes, if I would get bored or if I was burnt out a little bit, I would do supersetting. And so supersetting is different than drop sets. Drop sets the same exercise, you're just dropping the weight down, whereas supersetting is you're doing a different exercise too. So you might go to, say, biceps, curls, and then superset with, say, I would usually superset with an antagonistic muscle like tricep overhead extensions or something like that, or tricep push downs. And you can do supersetting type workouts. I think we have a superset workout on the app. I think I uploaded one of those. And then there's something called giant sets, which Milo Sarshab really likes. It's the same. It's different exercises in immediately following each other, but you're training the same body parts. So you might do incline bench press, go to flat dumbbell presses, and then go to like cable curls or cable crossovers. So you do 3 chest exercises in succession, one after the other, with no rest in between. That's a giant set. So you can definitely, you don't need anyone to write that out. You can kind of just orchestrate that yourself and tweak it here and there, just so that you get a little. But I wouldn't be doing those things like on a regular basis because they're very high intensity. And sometimes you can get overtrained from doing that. So if you mix them in once in a while to kind of mix things up and shock your body. Once again, sometimes it's good to do those when you don't feel quite as strong. Maybe I won't be lifting as heavy a weight as I've lifted in the past. So I'm going to do a different higher intensity type training technique to try to still get the intensity without having to lift as heavy a weight. And that's just the way it goes. And these questions, by the way, are excellent questions. And they come from the Dave Palumbo Experience app, where everyone who's an app member for $29 a month can ask me unlimited questions. I answer them in an open forum on the app. Everyone sees everyone's questions and everyone's answers. I even do a Q&A video once a week in addition to this Ask Dave, just for the app members. So they get that. They get all my articles I've written, all my videos I've ever done. They get all my cycles, off-season pre-contest, my diet templates are all in there. It's a really good resource. It's great as a stocking stuffer. I know the holidays coming up. People want to buy gifts for people. For $29 a month, you download it from the Android store or the iTunes store. And it's a really good resource if you want to constantly be learning about how to be a better coach, about how to be a better bodybuilder. It's all in there. We put a lot of work into it.
Let's go to our Facebook and Instagram questions. If you're not already following us on Facebook, just type in RX Muscle. On Instagram, official_RX Muscle. Angelo Salvo always asks great questions. We all know your favorite bodybuilder of the 90s was Dorian. But who was your favorite bodybuilder from the 70s and 80s, and why? Not as many mass monsters back then, so interested who you liked.
It's a good question. I'll tell you why, because I really didn't follow that many bodybuilders back then. I knew, obviously, I saw Pumping Iron, and probably, and I've said this a million times, I've said it, as a matter of fact, to this person's face, the guy I wanted to emulate and who I really, resonated with was Lou Ferrigno. I mean, when I watch Pumping Iron, every time I watch it, I want to see him win. I think it's going to be like a different outcome. I've seen the movie 100 times because I just loved Lou's story, and it's really my honor to have been his friend, for the past 15, 20 years now, and to the point where we can call each other. He comes on my show anytime I ask him. We'll interview him. He's just a great guy, and so that was my guy, in the 70s and the early 80s, I guess, because we made his comeback then too. So, even into the 90s. So I always looked up to Lou. Now, once I hit, my competition years, which was starting in 1990, it was all about Dorian Yates, at that point. So I think that everyone has their different era. I wasn't really following bodybuilding. I was too young back in the 70s when like Zane was winning and Arnold was winning, so that was really not my era. But the whole persona of Lou Ferrigno, and I'm sure it was because I loved the TV show, The Incredible Hulk. I have no doubt that that's what completely enamored me to want to look like Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk TV show. It wasn't about watching bodybuilding because I wasn't a bodybuilding fan then. So it's interesting how we get exposed to the people who influence us later in life. But that was how I did it.
Let's go to Espenberg. Is it true the more GH, the better and bigger we can get, or more side effects and waste of money? Liver can produce more IGF-1 over 6 units. Hearing some bodybuilders and big people are taking over 15 IUs a day.
Look, there'll always be people that want to push the envelope and think that more is better. I mean, I loved Boston Lloyd, but it was tragically his character flaw that he had, right? I mean, the guy he was knowledgeable, he trained, he loved bodybuilding, but he just thought more was better all the time. And he proved the fact that that's just not the case. And so it's a matter of fact, it's dangerous. If you use too much GH, you don't grow more. You do hold more water, so you might think you weigh more and you might feel a little more pumped on it. And I can guarantee you're going to put a lot more stress on your pancreas to have to produce more insulin, which is going to probably lead to your pancreas burning itself out at some point. So there are a lot more side effects. It's interesting because GH is one of those drugs that really doesn't have any toxicity or side effects when you take it in a nice effective dose, 2 to 4 IUs per day. It's when you start increasing the amount that you take, which you get no added benefit from it in terms of like growing or anything like that. You don't really get any more of a fat burning effect. It has a good fat burning, but it doesn't seem like it's a dose-related thing as far as I'm concerned. But you do get more side effects. Fluid retention, numbness in the hands. You get high blood sugars you start running because your body can't produce enough insulin because the GH works antagonistically to insulin. So there's a lot of side effects with GH when you take too much of it. And it's really expensive. So I don't know what you're going to abuse anything. Like I can understand abusing testosterone because it's pretty cheap, but I don't know why anyone would want to spend like thousands of dollars a week on real pharmaceutical GH and take ridiculous amounts. Now I understand if you have a very large source of income or something like that, or you have a lot of money, you might be tempted to do that. But we just haven't proven that more is better. It's just not the case. And you know what? It's not the case with anything. Everything in life, more is not always better. There's a point where you hit a point of saturation where this is the best dosage. And you know what the truth is? We figured it out already. These drugs have been around for 30 years and steroids longer than that. We know what the effective dosage is, okay? Dave Palumbo didn't miss anything, okay? I kind of went through all the trial and error already. You're not going to tell me something that I don't know about steroids and GH, okay? Because I've done all the experimentation already with it, and we figured out what works best and what doesn't. So, you could think, wow, I figured out 5 grams of testosterone a week. That's the sweet spot. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because if it was, everyone would do it. Okay, no one would have side effects from it and everyone would get the best muscle growth, but that's not the case. It's not drugs, steroids and GH are not dose related, meaning the more you take, the bigger you get. Because if that was the case, there would be a lot of big guys walking around, okay, confirming that. But that's not how it works. And so, people can continue to think that that's the way it works. But that would be naive and ignorant on their parts because, like I said, we figured it out already.
Let's go to Alexander Ruin. Coach, can you get rid of scar tissue if you massage the area and don't pin there? Also, he wants to know, I guess, if there are any updates with the Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course.
Oh, yeah. It's the bane of my existence. Everyone's been asking me about that. You know what it is? I just haven't pulled the trigger. The guys who run it for me, they're like, when are you going to run this course already? And I keep saying, well, I think I want to run a course that's exclusively be about anabolics first, a 3-hour class on that. And then I want to do the guru course. And then a lot of people are like, we really want to do the guru. The good news is that if you really want to take the Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course, which is my 8-hour class about how to become a coach, everything about nutrition, diet, supplements, drugs, everything I go over. I mean, it's a very comprehensive class. It's very exhausting for me to teach it, but I love it, and we always get a nice group of people who watch it. Since I've been teaching it online, since the whole COVID thing went down, they're all recorded now. So if you don't want to wait for the next one, you could watch one of the past ones, like the last one. And if you sign up for it, you can watch it at your leisure as many times as you want. It's right there, 8 hours. You can watch an hour a night if you want. You can watch it all in one shot. You can watch it 10 times if you want. All you have to do is email me and say, I signed up, Dave. Please send me the book. And I'll send you a PDF of the 100-page guru manual with everything in there, all my protocols and everything like that. So you can still do it. But if a lot of people like to take it live because they want to ask me questions while it's going on. So I will have it, I promise you, sooner. Probably in December I'll hold it. But I do want to hold one on anabolics exclusively because I think that's great. I have a smart, what's called my SMART certification course for personal trainers. I've been holding that. I wrote that 30 years ago, and we used to teach it at a college. It's available on DavePalumbo.com. You can take it. I've certified thousands of people in that class, and I'm still certifying people because a lot of people need a personal training certificate. So they download the manual, they take the test online, they send it in to me. I send you a diploma, nice level. It says level 1 SMART certification, and you're personal training certified. The Diet Guru course is the level 2 course of that. So that's level 2. It's like a continuing education it's much more intense, obviously, in terms of and bodybuilding related, whereas the personal training course is more related to how you work out people. And then level 3, I want to be the drug course. That's which is just going to focus on performance enhancing drugs. So, which is I cover that a lot in the Guru course too, but I figure I could take it to the next level if I focus just on that. So I'm still working things out in terms of how I want to arrange that, but I promise you it'll be back.
So, but let's go back to the first part of the question. That was getting rid of scar. Can you get rid of scar tissue if you massage the area and don't pin there? Yeah,
I got too carried away. All right. If the lumps, let's not say it's scar tissue, because scar tissue implies that it's permanent and that it's not going away. But if you have like lumps or like something under the skin that's only been there briefly, like you took a bad shot or something happened, or maybe you've just been injecting too much in one area, you could probably, if you leave that area alone and you massage it out and stuff like that and just don't inject there again, most of the time it goes away. However, if you've been doing this for 5 years, 6 years, and there's lumps of scar tissue in there and it's hard, I'm talking like you squeeze on it, it's like a rock. That ain't going away, okay? That's not going to go away by, you leaving it alone. You're not going to be able to break it up with ultrasound or massage. It's not going away. More than likely, it's going to be there forever. Okay, so there's a critical time period about when you can get rid of it and when you can't. And so if you're starting to feel something building up in an area, stop injecting there and let it cool down. It's when you keep doing it. And I think a lot of times, Greg Valentino could probably attest to this. If you use a lot of guys used to use the same needle over and over. I don't know why. He by his own admission used to sell boxes of syringes. So he had tons of them. He would just use the same old dirty one all the time. He would swab it off and use it again. Once you use a needle once, the tip dulls. So every time you stick it in after that, it'll still go in because it's sharp, but it's really dull. And so it's damaging the tissue a lot more. So you're getting more scar tissue buildup. So it's very important that you don't reuse syringes, that you try to use a fresh one every single time. Matter of fact, even if you're going to draw it up, a lot of times it's better off drawing it up with one syringe and then putting a new tip on there and using that new tip to actually stick it in and inject it into yourself. Because once you put that thing through the plunger once, even when you draw it up, it's dull already. So just for your own purposes, scar tissue will build up using a duller syringe. So that's something that a lot of people don't realize.
You said a little while ago that I guess in addition to doing the full guru course that you would want to do an entire course just on anabolics, you might want to do an entire course just on pre-show carbing up, because we have multiple questions on this very topic. So I'll pick one of them. It has to do with pre-carb and then water intake as well. It's from Socrates Lopez. The proper way to carb deplete and carb load before a show, along, I guess, tying in the water intake aspect of it.
Yeah, this is a very, once again, I don't do homework assignments on this show, and I've said this before. That's a very, first of all, it's a very complicated question because it involves multiple, variables. Secondly, I don't know what you're eating. I don't know how you look. I don't know what your metabolism is like. So for me to just spout out the exact protocol that I'm going to use the last week to carb someone up and dry them out, I'd be just talking on my ass essentially. So, the basic premise of what I usually do is early in the week depletion, carb up toward the end of the week, and how many days depends on the person. I don't give any diuretics or deplete any water until the last day. I don't cut sodium at all. I don't cut it during the diet, and I don't cut it right before the show. I usually, if anything, the day of the show, I'll even increase sodium a little bit just to make sure the person doesn't cramp, because we're going to be giving diuretics. I only use Diazide. Usually I'll use half pills at a time. Sometimes one half is enough the night before. Sometimes I'll use a half in the morning and a half at night on the day before a show. But how much I give people carbohydrate-wise varies. I have a girl I gave like 400 grams of carbs a day, which you would never expect, because most women, I very undercarb them because they're very sensitive. But some people have fast metabolism. She didn't fit the rule of thumb of any woman I've ever worked with. Likewise, there's guys that I give almost no carbs to, and they can eat 2 carb meals and they're filled up. And then there are guys I got to give 800 grams of carbs a day, with burgers and fries to fill them up. So everyone is completely different, and so it's hard. I go over this in the guru course, and I explain how to carb people up and what to look for and the different scenarios where you would use this or use that or do this technique or that technique. And that's why the course is so good, because I can do it over 8 hours. I don't have a time constraint like I do here. So, hope that answers it.
There's time for 2-3 more questions. We have after hours in just a matter of minutes, so I'll speed it up here. Best quads of all time?
No doubt, Tom Platz.
Couple of training related questions. One is about you're coming off a big layoff due to an injury. Is it best to start full body routines or body part splits?
I've come back from doing, from a lot of surgeries over the last couple of years, from 2 shoulder replacements. And I go back and sometimes maybe the first week I'll do, maybe like a couple of body parts together, because I only want to do a couple, like maybe one exercise for chest, one exercise for biceps, triceps. But more than likely, when I come back from extended layoffs, I just go to body parts. Like, so, all right, I had shoulder surgery. I'll start with legs. I'll do legs, and I just don't go heavy, but I do the same exercises I normally do. I just don't do as many sets. Maybe I'm not going as heavy. I'm just kind of squeezing and getting the muscle used to doing that movement again. If, let's say, I had my ankle surgery, I would start with upper body. I might do chest, the first day, and I do my normal workouts. I just don't go crazy, because especially with legs, I know I'm going to be in pain if I haven't trained my legs in 6 weeks or something like that, or 8 weeks, whatever it is. Luckily for me, I don't, even if I get a surgery like an ankle surgery and I have to miss I can't train that leg for whatever, months, I'm still training the other leg. So I don't ever just use, a layoff or an injury as an excuse not to go to the gym. I just work around the injury. When you do that, it's not as bad. But I understand some people come back from big layoffs, and once again, I just go and do my normal routine because it makes me feel normal. What I find is that it's really easy at first because I'm not forcing myself to lift heavy weights. I'm just going through the motions, and you know what? It feels great. There's nothing better than to go back to the gym after a forced extended layoff and do your first workout. It's like, it's like taking a hit of of cocaine or something like that. It just like soothes your whole body, because we're working out is like the drug of every bodybuilder, you know, that workout, that endorphin rush, it's just great. And so, you know, don't push yourself. Don't go try to set any records, but go back to your normal routine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Let's take one quick question. Your training, I mean, the question is about you, I guess, specifically. Would you follow the same diet and training regimen on cycle as opposed to off cycle?
Absolutely. I do it right now. You know, I'm still on the same routine because let's face it, you know, as far as diet goes, routine, your body still needs to recover. Whether you're training on drugs or off drugs, there's still the same requirements. You know, you need to provide protein, essential fats, and enough carbs to fuel the process. That doesn't change, okay? Just because you're taking steroids just means that things will work better. It doesn't mean that you have any more requirements or any less requirements. I think people think that, you know, people think I take steroids, now I have to eat more and I have to train harder. How about you have that mentality when you're not taking steroids? I have to eat more and train harder. You might actually grow better, you know? So a lot of people they have this misnomer that things change when you're on drugs. No, they just work better. That's all. If you should have the same work ethic all the time. And if you did that, okay, when you went off the drugs, you wouldn't lose anything. And people wouldn't even know you were off the drugs. I used to get people thinking I was on drugs all the time when I was off. I'd be like, I'm off season now. They're like, I mean, or I haven't been on, you know, drugs for 8 weeks. They're like, I don't believe it. You're more ripped than you were before. Yeah, well, because I'm not holding as much water, but I still trained and I still ate, and so I wasn't losing muscle. I might have been deflated a little bit, and that's fine. That's good. And that's the most important. I could tell a lot by a person how dedicated they are to their craft, how they train when they're not on drugs. Because I do see a lot of people when they're not on drugs, they don't even go to the gym, they miss workouts, they miss meals all the time, and then they wonder why they lose 20 pounds when they come off. I'm like, because you're not even training. Why wouldn't you train just as hard to maintain what you have so that when you do go back on, you're not going to be starting 20 pounds less. You're going to be starting from the same point and you're going to be progressing forward. That's human nature sometimes.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Full disclosure, so later, again, we recorded this on Tuesday. I'm going to be flying to Dubai for the Dubai Muscle Show, and we are going to have interviews with, I mean, literally some of the biggest names in the entire freaking sport. Phil Heath, Chris Bumstead, Big Ramy, Dennis James, Kai Green, Ronnie Coleman, Dexter Jackson, Flex Wheeler. Did I mention Dennis? I did mention Dennis James. And then we're also going to do some interviews on the side. We're setting something up right now with Andrew Jack. We're setting something up with Chris Cormier and Nexzilla. Nexzilla is going to be there as well. So we're going to have some fun with that. This is going to be good. So over the course of the next few days, expect a lot of video content to hit your YouTube channel. So again, if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below. If you have any questions that you want me to ask any of these big names, whatever, drop a comment below, and you know, we'll certainly consider it for the on-stage interviews and then the ones that we're going to be doing on the side as well. In advance, we wish everyone and your families a happy Thanksgiving. Hope each and every one of you have a great Thanksgiving, a safe Thanksgiving. Make sure to eat up, enjoy, and just enjoy time with friends, family, and of course, watching all the football action. Subscribe below, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, comment below. After Hours is live right now, but it's going to be filmed over the course of the next few minutes. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.